Welcome you all in this live session by Drishti IAS. As usual, we'll be discussing Indian Express and we'll go through some important articles of the day. Before going ahead, we'll start with the practice question which was given to you in the previous lecture, and we will discuss that, and then we'll move forward with the articles of the day, and in the end there will be another question for you which you have to solve at your own and answer in the comment box. So in today's discussion there will be 4 important topics here which you can see. One is going abroad to become parents. So basically there are few people who by natural means, if they are not able to be a parent, then they go for a method of surrogacy. Okay, but in India there are certain restrictions, there are certain laws because of which these people are going abroad for such procedures. Okay, so we will have a look at all those things, like why people are going abroad for such thing. Okay, other than that, if we see, we will talk about another graveyard unearthed. So basically another site of Harappan civilization has been found. So we will be talking about that. Then Harappa-Aryan link question. So basically in your NCERTs, which are quite important for your preparation as well. So when we are talking about NCERTs, so recently in 2024-25 curriculum has been changing. There are certain things they are adding to it and certain things they are omitting from it. So basically here we will be talking about those things like which are related to your history, which has been added or omitted from the section. Okay. Afterwards, Taiwan shakes on ring of fire. So basically in the Pacific Ocean, you know that there is this ring of fire. Okay, which is an area quite prominent with earthquakes and volcanoes. So basically Taiwan is also sitting on that particular ring of fire, and recently they have visited, actually they have gone through a earthquake. We will be talking about that, and we will talk about this region as because it is important from your geographical point of view. So we will talk about this ring of fire and why these earthquakes and volcanoes are happening over there. Okay, then around the world we will see 1 or 2 news from that, and then practice question. Okay, so let's start. This is the front page. There is nothing much on the front page on the upper side of it, but we will discuss some articles from the front page as well which are not visible here. Okay, so let's start with the practice question. What is the status of Kachativu island currently? Okay, so we have talked about this Kachativu island. It has been in news, and right now when we are talking about this particular island after 1974, it is under the sovereignty of Sri Lanka. Okay, recently there has been these talks, or you can say after BJP comes into power, they have talked about this island. They are trying to get it back. Okay, but that is different issue. But right now it is under the Sri Lankan territory. Okay, so here you can see this particular map here. So this island is basically your Kachativu, and in 1976 another agreement was there between India and Sri Lanka, which says that there is this wedge bank. Okay, this area of wedge bank, the right, or you can say exclusive right, or exclusive economic rights of this particular area was given to India. Okay, it was contended that it was in exchange of this Kachativu island. Okay, but then again these are not very sure facts. But the one thing is clear, that there were 2 agreements. One was in 1974, second was in 1976, which 1974 agreement talks about Kachativu being given to Sri Lanka, and 1976 agreement talks about this wedge bank having exclusive control by India. Okay, so please remember these 2 things which are quite important. Other than that, recently India and Sri Lanka's relations has been quite friendly, cordial relations. Actually it has been always like that, but there was this particular period or a phase wherein they were going close to China. Okay, but recently that again these relations are coming back to track. So there was some ferry services which has been started between India and Sri Lanka. So please go through that particular ferry services as well, because we have already discussed these services in our news analysis sections. Okay, so let's move further. Answer is Bombay. It is under Sri Lankan territory. Okay, now moving further, starting with the first article of the day. So there are certain restrictions, as I told you, there are certain restrictions under the law in India which say that certain category of people cannot go for surrogacy. Okay, be it LGBTQIA plus category, or be it certain woman who has crossed, or you can say certain parents who has crossed the age of 45 years. So basically these people cannot go for surrogacy. Okay, and because of these restrictions, and there are other restrictions like you cannot go for commercial surrogacy. Okay, these commercial surrogacy is not allowed in India. Okay, commercial surrogacy means that you are going for surrogacy in exchange of some kind of consideration. Let's say it can be money or it can be in kind, but the thing is there is a consideration. For surrogacy you are providing money to that person. Okay, so that is not allowed in India. In India only altruistic surrogacies are allowed. Okay, in a good faith, if they are doing it, or by someone who is close to you, like your relatives, your friends, if they are doing it, then only it's allowed. Okay, you can pay for the insurance, you can pay for the medical bills, etc., but not for the surrogacy per se, like not for the going through that particular procedure. You cannot incentivize the procedure by giving money or any gifts to that person to go for the surrogacy if they are not your relatives or friends. Okay, so these are certain restrictions. Let's see in detail here. A same-sex couple in Delhi sought to have another child through surrogacy. They realized they could no longer hire a local surrogate due to challenges in Indian law, which now only allows altruistic surrogacy without payments. Okay, so you cannot pay anyone to become a donor or become you can say surrogate. Okay, now trends of going abroad for surrogacy. Obviously, if there are restrictions and someone wants to be a parent, then obviously they will go outside India. Okay, so there are certain destinations like USA, then Germany, okay, Canada. There are certain countries which are providing such services. People are going over there. Okay, so increasing number of privileged Indians are opting for travel abroad for surrogacy. Popular destinations are USA, Canada, Eastern Europe, Latin America, etc. Surrogacy in USA range from $2 lakh to $7 lakh, making it most you can say preferable but expensive option. But when we are talking about some affordable options, there are Georgia, then South American countries. These are you can say price friendly countries, so you can go there for surrogacy. Okay, now what are the impacts? Okay, here before going to impacts, here you can see what is surrogacy basically. So it is some kind of a contractual process. Okay, contractual process is that by which a woman carries and delivers a child for a couple or individual after embryo is implanted in her in her through a in vitro fertilization. Okay, so this in vitro fertilization, or you can say in lab fertilization, that embryo will generate inside the lab and then it will be transplanted into the uterus of a surrogate. Okay, such process is called basically surrogacy, and it is a contractual process because you are not doing it for yourself, you are doing it for someone else, and once that baby is delivered, you will give that baby to those individuals or be it the couple. Okay, now commercial surrogacy is banned in India, which we already discussed. Would-be parents can only pay for altruistic surrogates insurance coverage and the medical expenses. As I told you, you can go for the insurance coverage but medical expenses, but not for the process, you cannot pay. Okay, then latest challenge to the surrogacy. So married couple can now use donor eggs or you can say sperms if they suffer from any kind of medical conditions that necessitate use of donors gametes. So earlier it was that you have to give your own gametes, then that will be implanted in the surrogate. But now because of some kind of natural medical condition or natural condition, if you are not able to go for such embryo generation by your own gametes, then you can do this thing that you can allow a donor. Okay, so that is recently allowed. That is the latest change which was made in the surrogacy law. Now surrogacy in India, if we discuss who can do it and who cannot, here you can see married couple with medical conditions that makes conception impossible. Okay, so such people can go for surrogacy, or widows or divorcee aged 35 to 45 years, but they need to use their own eggs. Okay, so in that case they need to use their own eggs. Now who can assess it, who can't assess it, like who cannot go for it? So there are certain people like single person cannot go for it, living couples and LGBTQIA plus community or people, they cannot go for surrogacy. Okay, so these are some restrictions which are put on the couples or the people when we are talking about surrogacy in India, and these are the category of people which are basically going abroad for surrogacy. Okay, now challenges. So, Indian law restricts surrogacy to be altruistic purpose only, and several conditions and limitations are there which we have already seen. Then here you can see couple faces obstacles such as criminalization if they pay surrogate and restriction on the use of the donor gametes, which we have already seen. Now who cannot access it, which we have already seen. Now the impacts. Okay, family members may face pressure because surrogates need to be altruistic and due to the legal restrictions. Now what happens is that if there is a person or there is a couple who are trying to have a baby but they are not able to because of some medical condition, and they cannot go for any one outsider, they cannot ask any outsider, because obviously there are restriction by the law. So family member will have this pressure, like someone in their family, or someone some friend of theirs, they are supposed to do it for them. Okay, so now this is the thing. So that is some kind of pressure which is on the family member. Okay, then second thing is, many surrogacy providers operate outside India and promote their services internationally. Okay, so that is another impact. So, some surrogates who were earlier in India, and because of this particular thing, there, you know, that this has been an employment at one point of time. People were used, or you can say misused, this particular provisions. What they used to do is, they foreigners used to come India, and then they used to find a surrogate and have a baby here, and they used to go back. Okay, some incidences were there wherein they refused to take the baby because of any kind of abnormalities, etc. But again, there was this industry which has been set up by them, and now when there are restrictions, these surrogates has to go outside or internationally to go for such practices. Okay, so that is one impact, you can say. Then US is preferred due to the well defined laws, gender selection, and potential US citizenship for the child. Okay, so in USA there is this provision that if you are getting born in USA, you will have a citizenship of USA. Okay, in other countries there are different rules, but in USA, child born via US surrogate can obtain American citizenship, while children born in other countries will have their parents' citizenship. Okay, so here you can get the citizenship of the surrogate. Okay, so that is one provision over there. Other than that, if you look, seeking medical treatment including surrogacy in US is permissible, but traveling to US for the purpose of giving birth is not allowed for Indian surrogates. Okay, so that is one impact. Then here you can say, parents hope that US citizenship for the child will benefit them in terms of education fees and opportunities. So ultimately, if a person is born in USA, he will be the US citizen, and you know that there are better health services, better education services. So basically you can say that social security services are very good over there. So ultimately that is also one, you can say, advantage or incentive behind going to USA and getting a birth over there. So these are certain things which we have talked about surrogacy. Okay, now okay, before going ahead, I would want you to go through this particular slides here. These are kind of important for you, because mostly if they are asking something in prelims, they will ask from these provisions only. So please make a note of these slides. Okay, now moving further to the next article. Okay, near Kutch Harappan graveyard, a skeleton and a key to the puzzle. So basically now whenever such excavations are done and whenever such new things comes forward, so we are able to make a link between the existing knowledge we have, and there are certain gaps which are not being fulfilled by the existing knowledge. Such things can be, such gaps can be fulfilled by such knowledge. Okay, so basically in 2018, archaeologists found one site, okay, that was Khatia or Khatia. Okay, it is in Gujarat. So they have found that there is a, you can say, community burial over there, or mass burial over there. Okay, mass burial means that nearly they found more than 500 graveyards over there, more than 500 skeletons being actually present at that particular site. Okay, so that was one thing. Okay, and recently what happened, that a human skeleton was found with certain accessories over there. Okay, so let's see. A human skeleton, degraded and in flexed posture, found on the slope of the hillock in Gujarat village, could hold the key to mystery that's been puzzling a team of archaeologists. In 2018, they had unearthed a mass burial site with 500 graves on the outskirts of the Khatia village in Gujarat, Kutch district. Okay, the question now is that whose graves are these? Was this burial ground arguably the largest as such for the big human settlement in the vicinity, or it a common facility for the clusters of the small settlements? So basically the question now here is that when you have found such a burial, there was 500 graves over there. So first was whose graves are this, first thing. Second thing is whether it is a big graveyard, or basically you can say that there was a big settlement and they were using this particular graveyard, or there were very small settlements around it and they have used a common graveyard for all these things. Okay, so basically that was the thing. But now we have found a single skeleton. Okay, so now question is that since there was a graveyard of 500 people over there, so why there is a single graveyard? Okay, so now let's see. Now the presence of the skeleton along with the pottery artifacts and the animal bones. That team of archaeological has excavated from a hillock, but that is locally called Padta Bait. Padta Bait. Okay, this is also in the vicinity of that particular area in the Kutch. Okay, so Padta Bait, recently they have found this grave. Point to the presence of 5,200 years old Harappan settlement that was 1.5 kilometer from the mass burial ground, that is Juna Khatia. Okay, so this burial ground is known as Juna Khatia in the Khatia village. Okay, it was an you can say Harappan site. Okay, the theory that the graveyard site that may have served as a common facility for a cluster of small settlements. Okay, so there is this theory that there were cluster of smaller settlements, they used to come and it was acting as a common burial ground. Okay, another theory is that it was a big settlement over here and they used this particular ground as a their graveyard. Okay, now when we are talking about this Padta Bait, there are two type of localities that has been identified. So locality 2 with the artifacts from the early Harappan era, that is 3200 BC to 2600 BC, and mature Harappan era, that is 2600 BC to 1900 BC, and late Harappan era 1900 BC to 1700 BC. These timeline are basically your static timelines. You must have heard about these in the ancient history. And there is another locality which is locality 1 with artifacts dating back to the mature Harappan and late Harappan. Okay, so there are two localities. One is wherein you can find all the artifacts from the early Harappan era, mature or later Harappan era, and when we are talking about the locality 2, here you can find the later and the mature Harappan era. Okay, so that is something you don't have to worry about. Okay, but please make sure that this particular name you remember. Okay, that is one where single grave was found, and then there is this Juna Khatia wherein mass graveyard, or you can say 500 graves are found over there. Okay, now hypothesis is that the population may have grown in the area, thus spread out from the locality 2 to locality 1, or that inhabitants selected different areas to stay at different points of time. Okay, so now they are saying that when we are talking about this Padta Bait, there are two localities which are found. So basically how there are two localities? So in the locality 2, when we see, there are all kind of, from the early to later phase, we have found the you can say evidences over there. Now hypothesis is that earlier they used to live over there, but since population increased, they started spreading outside. Okay, so because of which the second site, that is locality 1, which only finds the mature Harappan evidences or the later Harappan evidences. Okay, that is normal and clear, very specific. Okay, and other than that, there can be a second theory which says that they started to stay at different locations at different point of time. Earlier they used to live over here and then they moved to that particular area. Okay, but I would suggest that the first hypothesis hold more water because they have found all the evidences of early, mature and the later age in the locality 2. Okay, now you don't have to remember all these things, I'm just telling you because it was in the article. Just remember the names of the sites. Okay, UPSC generally has this tendency, they will ask you the name of the site, which site is Harappan site or not, which is the Gupta site or not. These questions has been asked. They can ask you certain things about what is famous, like when we are talking about the dockyards, Harappan dockyard, you know that Lothal is famous, that was also in Gujarat. And when we are talking about the Great Bath, they can ask you where did they find that. Now they can ask you about this particular burial. Okay, they can ask you about the mass burial, they can ask you about the single burial, they can ask you about a burial wherein they have found the skeleton of a couple. Okay, so that is Rakigari in Haryana. So all these things you can remember, make a note of all these sites and their specific elements which are attached to it. Okay, much of the structure remains were eroded due to the unstable nature of the landscape. That is obviously most of the time what happens is that when we are talking about these Harappan sites, how they discovered. So when this first site was discovered in the Mohenjo-daro and Harappa area, so what happens that villagers used to find these bricks somewhere and they used to use it in the construction. When the archaeological survey related people, or you can say these people went there, they have found some old bricks over there and they have started excavating. They have seen that half of the upper portion of the city that has been lost or that has been eroded because those bricks because these people were not aware about the city which is beneath the ground. So they used to take these bricks and they used to go and use it in their own construction of the houses. Okay, so ultimately afterward it was said that this is the area which is an ancient city, and after that archaeological survey of India, which they have actually make it a site under the protection. Okay. So similarly, in these areas also, because of the erosion or the unstable conditions of the landscape, most of the things has been eroded. Okay. The possible animal domestications as shellfish. So what when we are talking about these evidences, and there are certain things like animal bones, etc., which are found in the grave. So what they indicates, you can see over here that possibly there was animal domestication as shellfish exploration, etc. So that is one thing. Animal domestication, you can see, because there was animal bones which was there in the grave. Okay. Occupation of the Harappan people, which we can say that obviously if they are burial, so people have been living over there. Then there are certain ceramic artifacts has been found over there, and unidentified pottery tradition of the Harappans. Now these new tradition, or you can say unidentified tradition of the pottery has been found over here, involving large storage jars to smaller bowls and dishes. Okay. Semi precious stone beads has been found over here, and terracotta, copper, lithic tools, cores, debitases, all these things are found over here. If you can remember, please remember, otherwise it's not important. Just know that animal bone was found over there, and these elements, other than that, when we are talking about these stone beads, etc., all these are the common elements which has found everywhere. Okay. So that thing can be specific one. Second thing is that they have found unidentified pottery over here. Okay. So that is another special thing about this particular graveyard. Okay. So these two things you can remember. Now, the presence of the skeleton raise another question. If the mass burial site possibly catered to the people in the settlement, why were these remains of the body here and not at the Juna Khatia site? Which way I have already asked you, like, why is that one body is found outside that particular mass burial? Okay, it can be a situation wherein either that was done later. Second thing, it can be a situation when this person was very important. Okay, well, let's see. Now, Juna Khatia was a burial ground for the Juna Khatia was the burial ground from the early Harappan phase. Okay, so that is for the early Harappan, and skeleton at the Patta bed possibly indicates a change in the burial practice over time. Okay, so ultimately we are saying that this particular practice of burial, or you can say giving a send off to these people, that practice has changed. Okay, so in Harappan, or you can say our in ancient civilization, we have seen that there are different kind of burials. There was the monolithic, or you can say there are stones which has been used for the burial. There are mass burials, there are single burials, there are burials with couples, there are times at people are buried with animals. Okay, so there are different practices at different times. So there are chances that this particular site, that is Juna Khatia, it was an early Harappan site wherein these people were buried earlier over there together. But then when we are talking about this particular site which is later, and that there might have been a change in the burial practice. Okay. So skeleton remains excavated at the Padda bed are from the later Harappan era, and or there might be a practice to bury within the habitation limit. Okay, where they are living over there only they are trying to bury people. So that can be also a case. These are just speculations, these are just theories, but just know that there are two sites which are important. One is Juna Khatia in the Khatia village of Kutch. Then there is this Padda bed. Okay, it is also in Gujarat, Kutch area. Okay, nearly 1600 kilometers from that. Okay, so I hope this is clear. Now we can move further. Hold on. So you know that we have come up with this UPSC target UPSC prelims 2024 series, and in this we are going for the two modules. There will be a current affair modules, and then there will be a MCQ practice module, which are already started being uploading. So you can go through those particular series that can boost your prelims preparation. So go and watch those videos if you have not watched already. Okay, so now coming to the next article. Here, class 12 history books tweaked, Harappan indigenous, no Aryan clarity. So basically now there are certain things which has been NCERT is trying to, or you can say the CBSE is been trying to change certain things in the books. So let's talk about these changes because these NCERTs are quite important for your preparation as well. Now Revision by NCERT in the history and sociology textbooks for academic year 2024-25. So in the history textbook class 12, there is this Harappan civilization chapter, in which in that chapter recent studies from the Rakhigari site. So this, please remember this site, because they have changed it in NCERT. It becomes even more important, and I have told you about the specific thing about this particular site, that Rakhigari site. This is in Haryana. Okay, please remember. So this site reject Aryan immigration, emphasis on the continuity of the Harappan civilization for 5,000 years. Deletion of the mention of a break between early Harappan and the Harappan civilization. So basically, this site, there has been some tests, or you can say DNA test, and these DNA tests are saying that there is no Aryan immigration. Okay, so there is a continuity of early Harappan phase and later Harappan phase, and so basically they are saying that this theory of Aryan, you can say, invasion was not there. Okay, emphasis on the continuity of the Harappan civilization and reject the Aryan immigration. Okay, for nearly 5,000 years. Deletion of the mention of a break between early and Harappan civilization. Okay, so basically they are saying that there was no such thing as the Aryan immigration. Those people who are living in Harappan area or later Harappan part also, they were indigenous people. Okay, then addition of paragraph highlighting the genetic continuity and the need for research on Harappan and the Vedic period relationship. So now, since you are saying that there was no Aryan invasion, and then in the Vedic phase we have seen that there we have studied again and again that there were Aryan immigrations, and they have actually gone for the Vedas, etc. So here we would say that there is arise another question, which is saying that if such things is correct, wherein you are saying that Harappan there is a gene continuity, so now there is a question on the Vedic period and the link between the Harappan and the Vedic period. Okay, that is clear, because till now what we have seen that after the decline of that Indus Valley civilization, and because of there are various theories like there was flooded, there were Aryan immigrations. Okay, all these things were there, and we have seen that after Indus Valley we have entered into a Vedic age. At the time of Vedic age there were Aryans. Okay, so now here we are saying that there was no Aryan immigration. So ultimately now there is a question that what is the link between Harappan and the Vedic civilization. Okay, so that is for the scholars to decide, but as of now this is the case. So they have changed it in the textbook that there was no Aryan immigration, there was this you can say continuity in the gene of the Harappan and the next generations. So basically this particular site Rakhigadi becomes important for you. From this article here, you can say studies of the ancient DNA obtained from the archaeological sources at Rakhigari and Indus Valley site in Haryana rules out an Aryan immigration to a call for more research into it, whether the Harappan and the Vedic people were same. Okay, so since if there was no Aryan immigration, so obviously there are chances that these Harappan people has gone for the Vedic age and they have wrote Vedas. Okay, so that is one thing. So these changes are being done by CBSE. Okay, so that is the Central Board of Secondary Education. They decide on the curriculum. Okay, so that is one thing. Now second thing is sociology textbook chapter on the patterns of social inequality and exclusion. So removal of language implying scheduled caste and scheduled tribe are marked by poverty, powerlessness and social stigma. Omission of the reference to project like Sardar Sarovar Dam driving people into a greater destitution. Okay, so basically they have changed this particular narrative. They are trying to change this particular narrative that these tribal people over there are basically living in marked by poverty, powerlessness and the social stigma. They have removed this particular Sardar Sarovar Dam. Now for prelims, please go through this Sardar Sarovar Dam, on which river it is there, what kind of states are benefited by this particular project. Okay, so that becomes important for your prelims now. Okay, I hope that is clear. Now chapter on Indian society, from that particular chapter, removal of an image of communal rights from the section of communalism, secularism and the nation state. So they have removed a image from the communal rights in that particular section. Okay. Now history textbook of 6th and 7th class, omission of the word Hindu in the context of landlord reflecting diverse social background. So that is one thing. Second thing is replacement of the caste background with the social background. Okay, so they have removed this particular word, that is caste background, and they have replaced it with the social background. Okay, on the section that is Nayanyars. Okay, now deletion of the mention of the specific caste background in the context of Nanars. Okay, so this is a particular you can say community which is found in South India, Southern India. So please go through it. Who are they? Okay, so that is about certain changes which are made by the NCERT. So now we can move to another article that is related to your around the world. Here we will be talking about the Pacific Ring of Fire, and then what is happening in Taiwan. So recently we have seen that in Taiwan there was this earthquake. Okay, and that earthquake was of magnitude nearly 7.4. Okay, so some local authorities are saying that this is of magnitude of 7.2, and US's authorities are saying that this is 7.4. So that was very devastating earthquake that has happened in Taiwan, because of which there are certain people who have lost their life. Nearly 1,000 people are basically you can say injured as of now. Okay, and PM Modi sends message of solidarity. Taiwan leader says means a great deal for them. Okay, so these things has happened. Now we will go into details of why this particular thing has happened, because Taiwan has seen such earthquakes and volcanoes recently, or even for the longer years. But when we are talking about this particular magnitude, okay, 7.4 magnitude, that has happened after nearly 25 years. Okay, and then why these earthquakes are very common, we will see in the next slide. Okay, here you can see that China, and there is this Taiwan. You know that there is an issue between China and Taiwan about the one China policy. Okay, and then we have this Taiwan Strait, which is basically separating mainland China from the Taiwan island. Okay, so that is what happened in Taiwan. Taiwan lies along the Pacific Ring of Fire, the lines of seismic faults encircling the Pacific Ocean, where most of the world's quake occurs. Okay, earthquake occurs. The area is vulnerable to the tremors or tremblers due to the tension accumulated from the interaction of the two tectonic plates, the Philippine Sea Plate and the Eurasian Sea Plate, which may lead to the sudden release in the form of earthquake. Okay, so basically what happens in the earthquake, there is this energy which has been inside the earth, and if they find some kind of fissure or fault and one some kind of area from where they can release this energy. So tectonic plates are such areas where they interact continuously because of the isostatic movements. Okay, and once they find such a point of release, this energy released from that particular area, and we call it as earthquake. Okay, so this is about it. Now when we are talking about this India and Taiwan, though India and Taiwan do not have formal diplomatic ties because of the one China policy, and we somehow started supporting that one China. Okay, but de facto we are not supporting it, de jure we are doing it. Okay, now bilateral trade relations have been upwards in the upward trajectory, and in 1995 New Delhi set up the India Taipei Association in Taipei, which is the capital of Taiwan, to promote interaction between the two sides, and to facilitate business, tourism and the cultural exchanges. So basically we have some kind of institution which is working for the relations between India and Taiwan, but if we see diplomatically, we do not have formal ties with Taiwan yet. Okay, so that is about this particular article. Now let's see what why this is particular these earthquakes are happening in the Taiwan area. Hold on. Okay, so we have seen what happened in Taiwan, what was the magnitude, etc. That is fine. Now Taiwan lies on this Pacific Ring of Fire. This is the Pacific Ring of Fire. This is Pacific Ocean, and around this ocean we have this Pacific Ring of Fire. Okay, so here you can see we have Taiwan. It will be quite visible over here. Now here you can see this is the basically your Pacific Ring of Fire. Okay, and now when we are talking about this particular ring of fire, you can see that there are various plates. Okay, these are the boundaries, convergent boundaries are there. These are the boundaries over here. So, and here you can see these are converging boundaries. These plates are interacting with each other and they are getting closer to each other, and there are certain divergent boundaries. Divergent boundaries means that they are going in the opposite direction. Okay, so whenever there is a convergent boundary, there will be some kind of interaction, or you can say volcano or earthquake related activities, which we will see. So that is one thing. And when we are talking about the location of Taiwan, here you can see Taiwan is basically on this particular ring of fire. Taiwan is somewhere here. Okay, this is Taiwan, and this is on this particular ring. Now here you can see that there is this Philippine plate, and there is this larger Eurasian plate. Okay, now these two plates are interacting with each other and they are getting closer to each other. Okay, whenever two plates are basically getting towards each other, so there will be a convergent boundary and there will be a zone of subduction. Okay, whenever these plates are coming together, and because of this particular interaction between these two plates, what will happen is that the denser plate will go inside the the lighter plate. Okay, so let's see, this is the Eurasian plate, this is your Philippine plate, it is coming with each other, and then the denser plate will get inside the lighter plate, and because of which this denser plate which is getting inside it, this will, because of the high temperature inside the earth temperature, they will start these rocks will start melting over there, and you know that there is this word called magma. Okay, this magma will form. Okay, now this magma will be formed inside this is a, you can say, molten rocks basically, and whenever they will find a fissure or whenever they will find a way out, they will get out of that. Okay, so then it will be coming out as a volcano. Okay, whenever these plates are interacting with each other, they are colliding with each other, and because of this collision, you can say there can be earthquake. Otherwise also, whenever these plates are there and internally if there is some kind of activity which is going on inside the earth's surface, and there is an energy which is getting generated or stored inside that earth surface, and it will get a fissure or fault, and because of which this energy is getting out, that will be acting as a earthquake. Okay, so that is basic geography. You must have heard about all these things. Now here you can say Taiwan lies on the Pacific Ring of Fire, where 90% of the world's earthquakes are taking place. This Ring of Fire holds nearly 90% of the world's earthquake. Okay, what is Ring of Fire? As I told you, there are certain boundaries which are interacting with each other, and when we are talking about the Pacific Ocean, here there is this larger Pacific plate. Okay, and there are certain smaller plate like Eurasian plate, then Philippine plate, then there are different plates we have. Okay, so there is Australian plate. Okay, and here you can see there is Cocos plate, Nazca plate, South American plate, North American plate. These plates are basically interacting with each other, and that is why here you can see that with Pacific plate interacting with Eurasian plate over here, then North American plate interacting with Pacific over here, then here is South American Nazca plate which is interacting with the Pacific, and then here Philippine, Australian plates which are actually interacting with Pacific, and in the south you can see there is this Antarctic plate which is basically in interaction with the Pacific. So basically here in this zone you will see that all of the plates are basically interacting with the Pacific plate. Okay, so that is why these are the most unstable areas wherein you will see there is earthquakes or volcanoes. So that is why this is called Ring of Fire, because of the volcanic activities over there. Okay, now why is the Ring of Fire vulnerable to earthquake? As I told you, whenever earthquakes are there, whenever there are plates, they will interact with each other. Here you can see the earthquake are triggered as tectonic plates constantly slide past each other or collide with each other or move above or below each other. Okay, so that is what happening over here. So ultimately they are saying that if there is any kind of interaction, there are chances that there will be earthquake. Okay, the rough edge of the plate gets stuck with the other stuck with each other, while the rest of the plate keep moving. When we are looking at this particular plate over here, so European plate and then Philippine plate, the rough edge will be stuck with each other. These plate will continuously move like this or this or this. The thing is, you are not able to see the movement, because these movements takes billion of years, you can say million of years. It will actually move by a smaller amount. So but the thing is, these will actually these plates are large enough, and that is why if there is a small change, that will result into earthquake. Okay, so while the rest of the plate keeps moving, an earthquake occurs when the plate has moved far enough and the edge get unstuck along the one of the faults. Okay, so like see, this is the rough edge of the let's say plates, and this is stuck here, and this plate is continuously moving in this particular direction. And if because of certain activity, or if this plate is moving such something like this, and these rough edges are getting separated and there is a fissure, and because of this fissure this energy will release, and that is what earthquake is. Okay, why are so many volcanoes? As I told you, there is, whenever there is an interaction, lighter plate denser plate will get subsumed over there, and because of which there will be a molten magma or molten lava that will actually get outside from the volcanoes. Okay, so I hope this is clear, and this diagram is also clear. So please make sure this diagram is clear to you, and since that has happened in Taiwan recently, so please remember the name of these plates, at least Philippine plate and Pacific plate, Eurasian plate. and whatever plates are there, like Australian plates is also in the vicinity, so please remember the name. Okay, I hope this is clear. Now we can move forward. Now, before ending this section, there is this article which is for your own read, that is risk from glacial lake floods. Okay, we have talked about this particular things, how these glacial lakes are getting outburst. Okay, so I will not go into details of this article, but I'll tell you what is happening. Okay, so there are certain glacial outbursts which are happening in the hill station areas. Okay, so India has witnessed certain things in recently as well. So in Uttarakhand, when we are talking about, so there has been certain events which has happened. Okay, 13 of the most vulnerable lakes are found over there. There is this Tehri, Chamoli, these are Milan Ganga, Vishnu Ganga, and then Dhauli Ganga river. All these things are there, and on which they have these glacial lakes. Please remember, if you have the name, Vashudhara Tal is there, Maban, Pyongru. Okay, so please remember these 2-3 names which is given. Other than that, these glaciers are unnamed. Okay, but the thing is, Uttarakhand is the area where are maximum glaciers, or you can say 13 of the most vulnerable lakes are found over there. And when we are talking about these glacial lakes, what is happening is that here you can see this is your glacial surface, and this is the current lake. Current lake is because of the melting of the water, and there is this you can say embankment, or you can say a boundary which is holding this particular lake. But ultimately, with time, what is happening, that because of the warming, etc., this ice is getting melted. Okay, then because of this ice is getting melted, and there is this water which is increasing, the level is increasing, and because of which there is a weight of water, or that is called hydrological pressure, hydrological force or pressure. And because of this hydrological force of pressure, what is happening, that this pressure is on this bed as well as on the embankment. Okay, ultimately, when this particular boundary that collapse, and then there will be a you can say glacial flow, or you can say a flood like situation which might lead to landslides, etc. All these things can happen over there. But the thing is, this glacial lake will outburst. Okay, so that is the phenomena which I wanted to tell you, that is called glacial lake outburst flood. Okay, so because of the glacial lake outburst, there will be a flood, that is called glacial lake outburst flood. Okay, so you can go through this particular definition if you want. Otherwise, this is, I hope this is clear, that there is a current lake, and because of the melting of the ice, this particular water level will increase. Okay, and because of the water getting increased, hydrological pressure, hydrological force will increase, and ultimately when this boundary of the lake which burst or they collapse, and because that will lead to a flood, that is called glacial lake outburst flood. Okay, so that is the concept behind it, and now you can go through this particular article. Please remember if 2-3 names from this particular map as well. Okay, now I hope this is clear. Now moving to the last part of the section, that is related to your practice question. Which Harappan site is known for the mass burial of nearly 500 skeletons, or 500 people you can say? So options are Rakigadi, Harappa, Kalibanga, or Khatia. Okay, so please go through this question, attempt this and answer in the comment box. With that, I would like to take your leave. Okay, and please prepare well, prelims is nearby. So have a good day. Thank you.